The history of the Gospel of Mary is remarkable because the text almost disappeared completely. The manuscript that brought the Gospel back to modern attention appeared in Cairo in January 1896, when an antiquities dealer offered an ancient papyrus book to the German scholar Dr. Karl Reinhardt. The dealer came from Akhmim in central Egypt, although the exact place where the manuscript was discovered remains unknown. The book was later identified as a 5th century Coptic codex. It contained 4 works: the Gospel of Mary, the Apocryphon of John, the Sophia of Jesus Christ, the Act of Peter. Reinhardt brought the manuscript to Berlin, where it became known as the Berlin Codex, officially Codex Berlinensis 8502. The surviving Gospel of Mary is primarily preserved in Coptic, the final stage of the ancient Egyptian language. Coptic was written mainly with Greek letters, with additional characters derived from Egyptian Demotic. The original Gospel of Mary, however, was most likely composed in Greek. The Coptic version represents a later translation preserved by Egyptian Christians. The Berlin Codex dates to approximately the 5th century CE. It originally contained about 152 pages, protected by a leather cover. The Gospel of Mary occupied only the first 18.5 pages of this codex. Unfortunately, more than half of the Gospel is missing. The first 6 pages are lost, together with another 4 pages from the middle of the text. We therefore possess only part of Mary's Gospel. The manuscript came into the hands of Egyptologist Carl Schmidt, who prepared a critical edition and German translation. By 1912, his edition was ready for publication. Then a burst water pipe at the printing house destroyed the entire edition. Soon afterward, World War I began. Schmidt continued his work, but he died in 1938 before seeing the Gospel published. The project eventually passed to Walter Till, who continued preparing the text. World War II caused another major delay. The first printed edition of the Gospel of Mary finally appeared in 1955, almost 60 years after the manuscript had been purchased in Cairo. The importance of the Gospel increased when scholars discovered that the Berlin manuscript was not the only surviving witness. In 1917, a Greek fragment now known as Papyrus Rylands 463 was acquired by the Rylands Library in Manchester. It dates to the early 3rd century CE and comes from Oxyrhynchus in Egypt. This fragment preserves part of Mary's revelation and the beginning of the disagreement among the disciples concerning her teaching. It ends with Levi defending Mary and encouraging the disciples to proclaim the good news. Another Greek fragment, Papyrus Oxyrhynchus 3525, was later identified and published in 1983. It also dates to the early 3rd century CE. This fragment preserves portions of the Savior's farewell, Mary's comforting of the disciples, Peter's request that Mary teach, and the beginning of Mary's vision. We therefore have evidence from 3 ancient manuscripts: Papyrus Rylands 463 Greek, early 3rd century Papyrus Oxyrhynchus 3525 Greek, early 3rd century Codex Berlinensis 8502 Coptic, 5th century. The 2 Greek fragments are especially important because they demonstrate that the Gospel of Mary was circulating in Greek by the early 3rd century, considerably earlier than the surviving Coptic manuscript. No copy of the Gospel of Mary was discovered among the manuscripts of Nag Hammadi, although copies of 2 other works contained in the Berlin Codex were found there. As far as scholars currently know, the Gospel of Mary was not copied after the 5th century. We cannot know with certainty why. It may have been deliberately suppressed, or it may simply have stopped circulating and disappeared because scribes no longer copied it. Ancient texts could vanish without being physically destroyed. Once copying stopped, papyrus manuscripts eventually deteriorated. What makes the survival of Mary's Gospel extraordinary is that we possess 3 separate ancient witnesses, including 2 very early Greek fragments. After centuries of silence, a gospel associated with Mary returned through fragments scattered across Egypt, allowing part of her teaching to speak again.